Well, the legislature and the judiciary are treated separately and differently. The judiciary, the long history in Pennsylvania is that the Supreme Court has taken the position that it is responsible for controlling issues like access to court information. And we have in the bill that court financial records are public records and available for public inspection under the terms of the bill. For the General Assembly, we take a different approach and say that particular types of documents, defined documents, are available. Things like minutes of committee meetings, things like co-sponsorship memos, things like committee votes, floor votes, journals. We list the types of things. I did not include emails. I frankly think that the potential for negatively impacting the legislative process becomes very real when members cannot communicate freely and take notes, whether it's verbally or with email or pen and paper, in the deliberative process. Of course, once bills are introduced as bills or debated and there's public debate, or if there's official reports on issues, that should be public. But I don't think there is a successful deliberative body anywhere that conducts all of its communications among members of that body in the public eye. I don't think that is an effective model. My bill provides that it would become effective 180 days after it's signed by the governor. The reason for that time frame is that we create in the Department of Community and Economic Development, a number of new institutions. We create a open records clearinghouse with a training component, with an appeals component, a statewide appeals component, where the person who is denied access to a record now would go to a common pleas court or a magisterial district judge, can file an appeal with an appeals officer that would be employed by the Department of Community and Economic Development, and have that appeal resolved administratively that way, not necessarily in person. It could be done on the paper, so to speak. So that needs to be set up. Regulations need to be promulgated, and we think that rather than rush into it and not have that process in place, allowing that time period not only for the process to be established, the mechanisms that are necessary for the new law to be established, but also to educate local government officials and citizens about the new process, about the new coverage of the law, is the best way to go. And on that point, the local government officials and frankly all governmental agencies that are subject to the law have to appoint a open records officer that's a point person for people who might want to access records. That's part of that implementation process that I talked about. It will change, and I think one of the central benefits of my legislation is that there will be a new clarity developed over time with statewide hearing officers that are hearing these cases, and the decisions on issues will be collected and published statewide on an open records website that will be maintained by the clearinghouse. And so there'll be a certain clarity across the state. For example, just a little thing like how much to pay for copies will be set by this open records clearinghouse for local government and state government. And so there should be a uniformity, a clarity, and a greater level of knowledge. The BCD will establish training for local officials and for state officials in complying with the new law. I don't think that local officials are intentionally trying to evade or avoid compliance with the law. I really believe that there are is a lack of understanding and clarity in what the law requires in every fact pattern. And I really do think that the lack of a central body that interprets and publishes interpretation of what that law is on a consistent basis allows that grayness, that confusion to persist, even though we've had this law for some time.